happy, what do we got? Tuesday. It's Tuesday. We're live. We're going to be doing some mixing on some background vocals, some doubles, harmonies, stacks. I'm going to kind of show you the process I go through in Logic Pro, which is not the ideal process. I'd rather do these kind of like vocal edits and timing, tuning stuff in Pro Tools. But I'm going to do it in Logic Pro because I know there's a lot of you out there that use Logic Pro. So hopefully this will be really helpful. Also, y'all got any questions as I go through this, please just drop them in the comments. Support the channel by sharing the show if you get anything out of this, please. It means a lot to me. And also, there's like a few things you can do to support the channel. You can drop some... they have like these super chat things you can do on YouTube. That's dope. Share the show, mention the show, you know, whatever. Drop a comment, a like, anything. Anything that's going to kind of help grow this channel and get you guys more people, you know, hanging out in the network. That's all it is. So I'm in Pro Tool, or in Logic today. I'm sorry. I'm working on a track. It's kind of like a sync license track for commercial stuff. Real happy kind of Motown vibe with female artists on there. Her name's Heather Taylor. And it's cool. I'm really excited about it. And it's just got a lot of vocal stacks on it. So I'm going to kind of show you the process I go through with every vocal, especially doubles, harmonies, stacks. It's a tedious process, but it has to be done for the best quality product out, right? Like you have to do these things. You have to do the work. But I'm going to go through my process. First, I'll show you a little bit of the show. Say what's up if you're in the house. Piercy Blue, my guy. That's what's up. What's up? So you use Logic, Piercy, or what? Logic, Pro Tools, Cubase. What do you use? You guys, let me know what DAW you use as well, because I'm going to be coming out with some new stuff for you guys. Hopefully some dope packs with guitar players, bass players, people I work with in the industry here in Hollywood. And I also want to do stuff for Ableton, for Pro Tools, for FL Studio. I don't know. I just need to find out like what you guys are using the most. I figure most of y'all are using Logic, so that's why I've been kind of doing a lot of Logic stuff. But a DAW is a DAW, all right? They all do the same damn thing, straight up. Yeah, I like Pro Tools for audio, man. Like audio, Pro Tools is the shit. Logic is getting there with the audio. They just need an update, you know? Like they really need an update. And once they do, I think they're going to be right there with Pro Tools, if not better. You know, I really think they're going to get there. So I'm going to play you a little bit of the track here and show you what we're working with. All right, just in time for a system overload. So here's what we got. We got a lot of vocals, right? And which means to me a lot of work. Typically, that's what that means. So I got a lead vocal here. This is kind of the lead vocal. And then I got doubles, okay? So I usually have vocalists do doubles across the whole thing. And the reason being is because it's a really good way to kind of thicken out and make the lead more full in the track, right? You never lose the lead. I don't want to lose the lead. And it also gives it more texture, more timbre, all that good stuff. So here is with and without the doubles. The doubles are not timed or anything, so that's what we're going to be doing here. And I'm going to show you what I do to make that happen. But here's just the lead vocal at that beginning that I just played.
A little twist, a little shift. Midnight kiss, a little who, a little how. I love it right now. A little keep on keeping on.
And you know, it's cool because I've done a chain and stuff on it, and I'll run you through my chain real quick for that kind of Motown sound. I'm doing, some Motown shit. I want it to sound kind of lo-fi, kind of, fit in the track. So Metatune, just very, 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 very light, right? So 56 on the respeed, retuning. It's really just catching anything that's just drifting a little too much out, and it's probably barely hitting it. It's really not doing much at all. I really want that to be very natural. And then I set up a chain for her in the virtual mix console because she does have a Slate microphone. This 269 is really nice on her vocal, and I think any female vocal that's like in that range, this is just great. It's really nice and warm. And then the FG73 is a preamp. I'm driving it a little bit, and you're going to hear some of that distortion. And that's on purpose. I like that. I want it to sound kind of distorted when you hit the hard stuff. That's the Motown vibe, right? Clipping out like a U47 or a M49. Like the gear back then, like it clipped and it distorted nicely. So that's what this Neve is doing. And then we have the 116, just a vintage blue stripe. This is actually doing parallel compression. I'm mixing it in. And then this Revival is really nice for the shimmer and a little bit of thickness. Without that, here, I'll just pop that in and out. You're going to get this, which probably not too crazy different.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how.
So you notice it got like really thin and really digital sounding, right? So that's what the Slate mic does if you don't have the model on it. It just sounds like a very, very sterile capsule. Like it's just a clean mic, but it doesn't sound good. It sounds like a cheap Chinese microphone. All right, so because that's pretty much what it is without the models, without the modeling. Okay, so with the modeling and with these things, it sounds nice and full, and it pushes some body in and a little distortion, harmonics, saturation, stuff like that. All right, Smart Comp. This is amazing. I love it. It's one of my favorite compressors ever for vocals. It is basically just like a little secret weapon. It has like a lot of really deep features on it. It's by Sonable. I'll do a plugin of the week on this, but this is the Smart Comp 2. Really, really sick. And yeah, love it. It just kind of controls this vocal for the most part. And then the BX console SSL. I think this is what the J series. No, G. Okay, 4000G. We're doing some EQ here. We're just boosting a little bit of that top 16K again. Because as you like go through these kind of, you compress, you're going to take out some top end. You go through the virtual mix stuff, you're taking out top end with this kind of stuff. It's distorting the top end and saturating it, kind of like rolling it in a nice way that is really beautiful. That's what this Revival is trying to do, is bring some of that top end back up. But then I compress again, and then I'm bringing the top end back in a little bit with the SSL. And every EQ has a different top end. Like, just remember that. So sometimes you're using different EQs for different top ends, or mid ranges, or bottom end and low end, or low mids, or whatever. All right, so just you gotta know this stuff inside and out. Luckily, I've used these consoles over and over again. 4000, 6000, G, E series, J series, K series, 9000s. I've used all those SSLs. I know them very, very well. And the differences between the brown EQs, the black EQs, all that stuff. Okay, so high mid frequencies, 3.5 at 1.5. Typically, the center of a vocal is going to be right in that area, 1 to 2K, okay? Very, very typical. I find that it's right around 1.3 to 1.8, okay? And then anywhere beyond that, it starts to get like annoying. And this is kind of like a general principle with mixing and with EQing, is that when you find a sweet spot of an EQ, just like a little bit next to it or a little bit below it, you're always going to find the shit spot, okay? So if you got this really musical mid-range at 1.5, you usually find like 1.8, 1.9, 2K sounds like shit and it hurts your ears, right? So I just it's just something I've noticed over time. All right, and then I'm trimming out 6 dB of 800. Okay, so 800 in her vocal was just really just, and that happens a lot with 800. 800, 900, even 1K can get really like just really honky, and I hate that. So I just kind of take some of that out. And then I'm boosting 97 hertz. I'm boosting that 2 dB. And this is at a bell. This isn't a shelf. And you can switch the EQ type here. So if you're doing a lot of like cutting, I think the black EQ is better. If you're doing like boosting and, you know, the brown EQ is just better for vocals, in my opinion. I think it's one of the best EQs of all time for vocals. Brown EQ, SSL 4000. Okay, and then there's just a little bit of compression here as well. Let's check that out because I want you guys to get a lot out of this live here. Tap in.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sudden with no midnight kiss, a little who, a little how.
Okay, cool. So this isn't like final mix or anything, by the way. This is just the chain that I set up that I think is very musical and Motown, but still modern. Like, I'm not trying to make it sound old, okay? I want it to sound like a new version of Motown. And I will be replacing stuff. Like, I'll be replacing and adding live horns to this. I'll be doing live drums, all that good stuff. So that's what that is doing, okay? And then we have the LA2A, which just always gives a really, really nice presence to a female vocal. And I'll show you exactly what I mean, because sometimes people think that compressors are there to compress. Nah, not always. Sometimes compressors are used to give texture, to EQ, right? So I'm using this to EQ. I'm going to pop it in and out so you can hear the difference. But it's just pushing some nice presence up in the 3K area.
Keep on keeping on, a little partying until dawn, a lot of work, a lot of play, a little breath to keep the stressors at bay.
And I just use that version of it, this LA2A, because this is what I'm used to. I've used these in hardware like a million times for years and years and years. So I'm just very used to the tone of that LA2A. They also have like the silver face, and there's another one, I forget, but they're all just like releases in different time periods. Okay, Pro DS, one of the best DSers on the market, hands down, guaranteed, no debate. Nobody's gonna ever debate me on that. They're gonna be like, facts, that's true. I do all around on this one because she's got a lot of S's that hang long and P's and T's, and sometimes you use de-essing to get rid of those things rather than just S's and sibilants. Like, you have to understand T's, P's, strong consonants. I try really hard not to de-ess the top, and I usually de-ess just at the bottom. And this is all around, so it's like truly de-essing, de-plosifying, de-teeing, all that stuff. So check it out.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sudden with no midnight kiss, a little who, a little how, a lot of love that I love it right now, a little.
You can really look at that as like an all-around is basically like what I'm doing is a multi-band compressor, okay? So I'm just taking this band of 5.4 to 10.45, and I'm multi-band compressing that area because it's all around, which means everything from 5.4 to 10.5, when it crosses the threshold, it gets tucked down and it rides it, okay? Really, really important to understand what this is doing. It is not de-essing, okay? It is de-essing, but it's also like doing a lot of other stuff. And you could easily be using a multi-band compressor for this. You could say 5, like here's how I would set it up if I was gonna do a multi-band compressor. Very, very simple. You could use anything. Say you got like, you're like, Brad, I don't have the Pro DS, bro. Like, what am I gonna do? Do I need to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on plugins? Fuck no, you guys stop doing that. Like, every time you see me use a plugin doesn't mean you need to go buy it. Like, most of y'all aren't even getting paid to mix or do anything in music. Why would you go invest money in this stuff? It's insane. Like, invest in people, invest in hiring people. Like, that's what I would do over if I could do everything over. All right, so with this, you could do exactly the same thing, right? So Pro DS is doing, what, 5.5 to 10.5, okay? So you go in here, find the band. Let's use this band here. And we'll go here to 5.5 and just go 5,500. And then we'll go to this top band and we'll go 10.5, okay? Done. All right, so now in this band, what you're doing is you can just compress anything like that's crossing a certain threshold. So on this band itself, which is this high mid band, this purple guy, right? And I just moved it, but whatever. You could take threshold down and you could dip it, you could solo it out and see exactly what it's doing, listen, right? And listen to how much it's just taking down sibilants, things that go over the threshold, compress it down. That's all it is. That's what I'm doing with the Pro DS, okay? Multiband compression, or what we also like to call dynamic EQing. And that's a really great way to keep things just very subtle. It doesn't add any tone, texture, nothing like that, because I already have tons of tone and texture going on, right? Virtual mix, I got the BX SSL, I got the LA 2A, and then the Pro Q3 is just like doing some cleanup, right? Because things start fattening up quite a bit when you're compressing, so I kind of tone that stuff down a little bit again. So the 800 to 900 started building up again. I wanted to poke out that 1500. Mid-range was really, really big in Motown era, right? Like it's M49s, Telefunkens, 251s, all these things that like really had a lot of great three-dimensional mid-range. Neumanns, like all the Neumanns back then, U67, all those mics like pushed nice mid-range. So that's what you want to do, is you want to hit that mid-range. Soothe 2, doing a little bit more, just kind of like getting rid of harsh frequencies up in here, mainly sibilants. And then I'm actually limiting at the end, which is really funny because I don't usually do that, but I probably set this up because I was like, all right, I need to do it so I can hear it and put it in the mix. All right, and then I got some sends here. I got a Smart Reverb send. This is also awesome plugin, one of the most beautiful reverbs in my opinion, that is just absolutely not heard but felt. And I think that that's really important. I just go to this natural, like natural and rich, okay? And like this thing is so awesome because you cannot hear it, but you can feel it. Like if I disengage it, you feel that something's missing. But if I put it in, you're not hearing all this crazy reverb, which is really awesome thing if you're wanting to like give a sense of space, but you don't want like all this like really high-end reverb in your stuff, right? Another thing, widener. I built this out. If you guys have my Logic producer pack, Pro Tools producer pack, you're gonna get this this chain in it. It's very simple, very basic, but it's very, very awesome, and it works great. Okay, and then I have a little extra special sauce, right? Echo Boy going to a Pro Q3 to a Goodhertz Tube, which is actually tape and tubes, which is awesome. I love that plugin. It's super dope. Gives a nice musical color, texture to things. And then the H3000, which widens all that stuff. So I'll start to shoot some of this stuff into those and accentuate, exaggerate them so you guys can really hear what they're doing. But first I'm going to switch my buffer over. I'm having trouble mixing. Hold on, I'm trying to read some of these comments. Let me get into this. Let me get into it. Trouble mixing my... Fuck you, Logic. Trouble mixing my vocals and finding the muddy, harsh sections. Can you tell me typically where the mud range is? No, I can't, Christopher, because every vocal's different, every song's different, every key of every song's different. It depends on the range of the song. Like, is it a low song? Is it a high pop song? Like, is it a female vocalist? Is it a male vocalist? Is it a rap? Is it, you know, R&B? Like, it all varies, man. You got to use your ears and you got to learn how to listen really, really well. Muddy frequencies, like, you know, they have all these charts online and like people on TikTok, you know, for muddy frequencies, you should look around here and here. Like, bro, it's different with every vocalist and every note that vocalist sings. That's why a lot of the times I'm using these tools in multiband, right? And even the EQs, like this Pro Q, you know, this is a dynamic EQ. You see, this has dynamic mode on, right? So what that's doing is if too much of 872 hits, it's going to duck it down by almost dB and a half. If too much of 350 hits in a certain phrase or a certain word, it's going to duck it down by 2 dB. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not just carving, we're not EQing. We're saying if there's too much, we bring it down to a certain point. If it crosses this threshold, just tuck it back down. Okay? That's dynamic EQing, multiband compression, you know, all that stuff. So let's accentuate some of these sends here so you guys can hear what they're doing.
A little twist, a little shift, a little set
Like when I turn that reverb up, like you just hear just beautiful like space around it. It doesn't sound like you're like drowning in reverb, which I really love. And then this guy's the widener. Listen to how wide the vocals can get. And then they can get to a point where they sound like super processed, which I don't like.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how.
Logic is falling apart on me, but yeah, so that's like really like wide vocal to like, so I use that very, very subtly. I typically like overdo it and then I like pull it back to where I'm like, can I hear it? No, but I can feel it. All the processing that I try to do is off of feeling. I want to feel it most of the time. I don't want the listener to go, oh, that was a dope delay, bro. Oh, what are you using, Echo Boy? Yeah, that's sick. I use that too. Like that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't mix records and do this shit for you guys. Like I mix records for an audience, for a listener, for this to sync in a commercial or a TV show. You get what I'm saying? Like they're not going to go, oh, that's just beautiful. They must be using Echo Boy. Oh, you can really hear the auto-tune EFX on that. Like, that's just not my intention. So my intention is to make records that sound good and feel good. Like, I'm not trying to, show you guys all my processing. Listen to all that saturation, bro. I'm just making fun. But at the end of the day, like, it's just as you do this longer and longer, you kind of like learn the tricks and the trades, and you learn how to make records that you don't necessarily need to hear like the processing in. I'm going to bounce some of these down just because it seems like as I'm live streaming, it's just choking on my computer. So I'm going to bounce this in place. Gypsy, the Play Opus engine, whatever, like this always just fucking just bogs down stuff. So I'll just take some of these heavy MIDI instruments, bounce them out, and make sure that they're still going. Bus 9, yeah. Turn it off. Turn Opus off. Hard selected track. Just going to bounce some of this stuff out. I think the Slate stuff is pretty heavy as well. Let's bounce that in place. Slate drums. Yeah, so this is a good thing to do also. Like if you're trying to save processing power in Logic, just bounce your MIDI to audio. And a lot of producers like to do this right away. Like they don't even like working with MIDI. But I typically like to leave it because I'm still producing this record. So Slate drums, bam, and then you can turn it off and you can turn off all the plugins and stuff. And then just hide it. So if you need to go back to it, right? And you can do this obviously in batches, but I'm just trying to grab a couple that I think are doing a lot. Stylus RMX is kind of an older plugin from Spectrasonics, same people that make Omnisphere. So this is just like probably a tambourine or something. Just gonna bounce that in place. Tambo. So a good way to save processing power: bounce in place and then turn off your other your MIDI, right? Because MIDI usually is going to be pretty heavy. Hide that track. And then reeds and trombones. Yeah, this is going to be pretty heavy too. Just session strings. Looks like it loaded in like almost 2 gigs into memory. So I'm going to bounce that as well. And I'll probably be replacing this with actual like horns. So, which will really bring this track to life. Same thing with live drums. Live drums, live horns, live bass, live guitars, like everything will be live in this track. Like nothing's going to be sampled unless it needs to be a sampled sound. And that's typically like layers that make it a little more modern to me. I really like live players because live players bring something to the table that nobody else can bring to the table. Everybody's got Omnisphere. Everybody's got all these plugins and stuff, all these samples, but they don't all got like certain players that will bring a certain feel to something. So that's why I pay players. I pay people. I hire people. That's how you make records. And then these records go out and they make money and they return investment, Okay, so enough of me chattering, battering. Okay, so the first thing I do with the vocals, right? So they've been melodined. Not like perfectly, but, they've been melodined pretty good. I have these doubles. The doubles are kind of the first thing I would start to work on. And if you really zoom in, you can see that the doubles are off, right? And I don't want that. Because this is kind of an old school feel, it's okay if they're a little bit off and they're a little bit looser. But if you're doing like a super pop track, you want these to be really tight, these doubles, right? So first thing I'll do is I'll kind of like select a range, right? So like, let's do this first phrase here, all right? So this is the first phrase I'm going to work on. I'm going to, cycle around that phrase. And then on the doubles, I'll open up my like vocal line. You can do this manually as well, but I'm going to use the tools that I have, right? Obviously. Vocal line project 5, bam. And then we're going to put project 5 on the lead. It's very, very, very important that before you do any sort of vocal lining, that the lead vocal is pocketed right with the timing. It is exactly where you want it, specifically with the timing and with the phrasing, because that's going to be everything else going to be pocketed to that, okay? So for this, instead of trying to put vocal line on this track, I typically make a new track, right? So I'll make a new audio track. And we're going to call this like basically the vocal line track. We're just going to say vocal line lead. And then every time I vocal line, I just bring the lead down to this track. You can literally just go like this and make this whole thing a copy, right? Because all we're doing is using it as the source. So we're using it as the guide to what we're vocal lining, right? So then we can mute this. We can even turn it off to save processing. And then we can go to the lead that we just built and put vocal line project 5 on that as well. And then in this mode, this is interesting. It has like a big red flag on it. I don't know what's going on. Oh, we got an update. I don't give a shit. Okay, so for now, I don't care. So what I want to do is I want to use the side chain. So the guide is going to be the side chain, all right? So what you want to do is go to the vocal line project on the dub. So the guide is the lead and the dub is the double, okay? You want to go to the dub and then you want to select on the side chain the vocal line lead, okay? So let's go down here, vocal line lead, and that's going to be seeing the vocal line lead in the side chain, okay? And then you're going to hit capture the dub and you're going to hit play.
A little twist, a little shift, a little seven when the midnight hits, a little who, a little how.
So I like to use like working phrases because that's going to give you the best, cleanest. You're just going to get the best shit from it. That's just the way it works, okay? Because it doesn't have as much like phrasing to process. Like you do this on the whole track, you're going to have issues. All right, so you can see the output is ready. It's good to go. You've timed it out. Now you can match the timing. What I like to do with this is like go 100% and you can see how it like locks it in perfectly. And then I'll back off of it probably like 5-6 milliseconds because like I said, this is kind of like a Motown old school feel. It doesn't need to be really, really tight. I actually think if you tighten up the vocal line, it's going to screw this up. It's not going to sound good, right? Okay, so that output is ready. You're good to go. When I play this, I'm going to have the vocal line to vocal playing, okay?
A little twist, a little shift, a little seven when the midnight hits, a little who, a little how.
Okay, so now we got that vocal lined. Now what? Now you can bounce this in place, right? So you can go bounce in place, and now you have your aligned double. So I would just say vocal aligned or vox aligned, whatever. Even if you just put aligned, it doesn't matter. Vocal aligned double, double 1L. So for left, right? Make sure you're not bypassing effects, plugins, or any of that stuff, and don't mute the source. We're gonna leave it because we're still using it, okay? Then bam, there you go. There's your vocal line double right there. So now you can just keep going through and just do this phrase by phrase. And this is really, really boring and it's really tedious, but again, I usually have someone do this for me and I pay them because I'm not trying to spend my life vocal lining, okay? And I highly recommend you guys don't spend your whole life mixing your record for 18 months, never putting out music. So what I do here now is the same exact thing. I go into the vocal line plugin and I say capture, right? So you're putting it into record mode, capture mode, etc. You're going to capture.
A lot of love and I love right now. A little keep on keeping on. A little partying until dawn. A lot of work, a lot of play. A little breath to keep the stressors at bay.
Bada bam, it says it's ready. It's got 6 milliseconds. I kind of skimmed through this and like look at it visually to see if there's nothing that's like being really shifted and weird, you know, because that's a big problem. You'll get a lot of artifacts out of that. And there you go, done. Looks great. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to say bounce in place. And we're going to say, you know, you could actually just copy and paste the other thing. Like, for example, grab this, copy it, go bounce in place, paste. There you go. Vocal line double 1L. Okay, done. Okay, bam. All right, so that's going to make another track. Just bring it down, delete that track. This is very slow. This is why I use Pro Tools for this stuff, right? Because ARA doesn't actually work with Vocal Line Project 5 in Logic Pro right now. Maybe it does with the update, I don't know. But even with ARA, I would do it in sections because I want to make sure that it's getting the best quality, okay? Like that's so important to me. I don't care how long it takes. I want it to sound the best. I want it to feel the best, okay? So there you go. There's the lead double vocal line. You can unmute this one, right? You could copy down any processing, whatever you had on there. I'll do the same thing with the vocal line double right. Okay. And typically I want to use the same exact strategy. I want to use the lead, right? So this vocal line lead, I always want to use that as the guide. And I always want to use these guys as the dubs. Okay. Regardless, like, okay, this is aligned. Like I don't want to use the aligned double as the guide and then do it to this and use this as the dub. Reason being is because this might have artifacts in it that affects the vocal lining for the double. And I see people do this all the time. I'm like, yo, you're an idiot. Like you literally processed the crap out of that and vocal lined it. And then you're going to take that process to crap to hell, like auto-tuned vocal line vocal, and you're going to make something like algorithmically figure that out and try to match it. That's dumb. You're going to introduce so many more artifacts. So always take your cleanest signal in your lead and align that. That's always going to be giving you the best bet. And not always. I'm never going to say always because in audio engineering and production, there's never an always. All right, so let's move this over. Let's grab vocal line and bop. I'm just going, you know, option dragging, right? And remember, it has the same audio 50 as your input, right? So now we're going to unsolo this, or we're going to actually solo it, and we're going to capture this guy. So we're going to capture that.
Ow! A little twist, a little shift. A little sentimental midnight kiss. A little how.
Okay, done. And never do that when you're like capturing a processor. Never bypass plugins. That could really screw things up. So I'm going to recapture that.
Ow! A little twist, a little shift. A little sentimental midnight kiss. A little who, a little how.
All right, bada bam. Now we got that. Let's just bounce that in place. And then I'm going to show you guys some processing stuff that I do with doubles, okay? Because this is really boring and who wants to watch this? But it is like the next step in my process. So I tune and everything first, and then I vocal line. Reason being is because tune is going to affect pitch. Vocal line is going to affect pitch. Everything's going to affect pitch. But after I've melodined, I vocal line, and then I have like a meta tune on there capturing like, you know, fixing little pitch mistakes or whatever. But it just depends. Sometimes it's better to melodyne before vocal lining, and sometimes it's better to vocal line before melodyning. You gotta try both and see what you like better. You know, it just depends on how much stretching and processing it takes. Because when you are compressing and expanding audio, it's going to affect the pitch in one way or another, regardless of what they say. You know, oh, it doesn't affect pitch. It has to. It's physics. All right, so let's lead double R1, bounce in place. Cool. Let's say vocal line, right? Vox aligned. And always like really make sure that you label your shit. All right, so that's what you got. You got an aligned vocal double. Okay, so now just to show you guys like what the outcome of that is, Now we can solo these guys up. So these are the aligned, and this is the lead, right? Now we can bring these guys up here to the lead. And I know you got a bunch of extra tracks, and this is why I don't do this in Logic. I hate it. I think it's trash. Now let's get rid of vocal line here. I'll do all that later. You know, we'll get into all the vocal lining later. Okay, so I got the aligned double L and double R. And that's why I always label them, because I can see it burned into the actual region. And now let's zoom in. So you see this, it didn't like align it directly to the beginning, but what it did is it probably aligned it to the phase, right? So it did like some phase alignment and found a good point to align these vocals to. See what I'm saying? So you can see like where the 0 crossover point is. Like it just put it more in phase. Okay? And it just made it as musical as possible. And remember, we kept it pretty loose on the timing. So let's hear it now, vocal lined up.
Ow! A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little. Ow! Ow! A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how. Ow! A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how. Ow! A little.
And you're hearing like this little ghost because like when you don't turn off vocal line, it's playing through vocal line, which is the weirdest shit ever. And it proves to me every time I do that, that Logic does not turn off the track. It does not turn off the plugins when you turn off the track. And that's why I always, every time I turn off a track, like you go to hide, when I turn off a track, I always turn off all the plugins as well. Because listen to this, and this is my point right here. Check this out. I'm going to solo these. They are completely turned off.
Ow! A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental kiss, a little.
Like, what the fuck, Logic? Another reason not to be editing a lot of vocals in Logic Pro. Just use Pro Tools. Use a better program. This is where Logic needs an update. So, like, even though the track is turned off, you're going to tell me that this is still on and you're still playing audio through the vocal line. That makes absolutely no sense. So let's turn off vocal line on everything. And let's see if it comes through. All right, so hence why I turn off every single plugin every time I turn off a track. Because turning the track off does not turn off the plugin. Okay, which means it's in the background processing, eating up resources. So just remember that when you do this stuff, there's always going to be things you got to figure out as you go along, and that's just the way it works. So let's go there. Let's just mute those guys, and actually we'll turn these on because we want these on. We just don't want vocal line on it. Okay, get rid of that. And now we got those aligned. We're just going to delete that. And here's the aligned vocal.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how.
So those are nice and tight, and we're going to get into some processing stuff with doubles because I think doubles need like really, really good, clean, smooth processing. Like I need that shit to be just so beautiful, right? First, let me switch my audio card back because it's still crackling for some reason. You guys have any questions about that process, about vocal lining in Logic Pro? Anything at all? Ask away in the chat. And make sure you guys are showing some love on the video, sharing it if you're getting something from this. Show love. It's Tuesday afternoon, and I'm showing you guys game. If you want it, you can have it. But try to participate, you know? Like, try to be a human being and not just someone in the corner being all creepy watching this shit. Not showing love, not asking questions, not sharing the show. just sitting around taking freebies all the time. Free, free, free. Give me everything for free. And then you go and like make a TikTok story about how to vocal line in Logic Pro and the turn off thing. You're going to like go make an Instagram reel. Did you know when you turn off the Logic? Like, fuck y'all for doing that. I'm just playing. All right, so check it out. So now we got these vocal line doubles, right? Let's pretend we just did all the vocal lining for all the doubles, which we did not. I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to hide this, right? Because this was the vocal line lead. And this is what we got. So here's our lead here, and here's the vocal line doubles. Let's just kind of, you know, figure out this shit. I don't need that. Let's go take these guys, bring them back up. And we'll color these. Anything that's been vocal lined, we're going to color it. We're just going to color it hot pink, okay? And anything that hasn't been vocal lined will stay purple, okay? Sounds good? Good. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take these vocal doubles and even the vocal and the vocal doubles, let's put them through their own bus. Let's actually put all the vocals through a mix bus. So that's the first step I always do is I route my stuff. So here we go. We got bus 17. What is this one going to? What is bus 17? I must have like a subgroup, so I got to be careful here. So bus 17 is a subgroup for the ooze. So these guys here. Yeah, so I got to be careful because this guy. Okay, so those are background vocals doing ooze, right? So they're not lyrical at all. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure that this bus 17, the background vocals, goes to the mix vocal bus first. So I just have exactly what I need. All right, so let's go to Vox mix bus. Bus 15, I just have it like, you know, regularly going to bus 15 in my shit. Here's my vocal mix. Label this Vox mix bus. And then go back and take all the other vocals as well, besides the ooze, and take them through bus 15. And if you guys have questions, if you're getting confused or if you just went cross-eyed, like, I get it, but just ask a question. All right, so go bam, take these guys, go to bus 15 with them. Okay, that's where our vocal mix bus is. That's where we're going to put all the vocals together, okay? Bam. All right, and then these guys as well. So these are all like doubles and harmonies and stacks and all that shit, right? Okay, let's go bus 15, Vox mix bus. Kind of boring stuff, but it's like super, super important, okay? Because we're going to glue everything together. We're going to make a sound with the vocal mix bus. Now, first thing on the vocal mix bus, what we want to do, and just to really get this point across, I want to listen to this and see what everything's doing if it's together, right? For example, open up a Pro Q3, I get a little bit of a graph. I can see what's down here, any mud, any stuff that's like starting to compound on itself as far as EQ and stuff. And we'll start to clean that stuff up before we do any other processing. So you see all that rumble down there going all the way down into like sub frequencies and all that. This is all unnecessary in this vocal, 100% unnecessary, which means you're eating up voltage. You're eating up stuff that you could make your record louder, prouder, more clear, more open, more spacious. You can hear the reverbs better. You can hear, you know, everything better, like the delays, everything. You have to clean this shit up. So first thing I do right away is clean that. So I love like that. It's interesting in like a female vocal where it's like, oh yeah, like it's up there. That 200 area is like 200 to 400 can really be like beautifully warm, right? But in a male vocal, sometimes that's like where you get the like, you know, and Christopher, you were asking earlier, like, yo, what are some like areas to look out for? You know, that's really important, like the range of the vocal. So you should pay attention to where the range of the vocal is. Like, where is the fundamental frequency of the vocal? In this, the fundamental's hitting around 200 hertz, right? 180. So, and because it's a female vocal, everything moves up, right? So I need to treat those areas differently than I would treat them in like a rap vocal or a singer that's male doing like this and like that. You know, like it's a totally different thing. Totally different game. So a lot of people are like, yeah, you know, you got to sweep out 300. You got to sweep out 400. That's where all that, you know, sweep out 250. That's where all the bullshit is. Like, no, that's where beautiful warmth is in a female vocal, right? Especially when we're doing like a Motown sound. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. That's why there's no like hard, fast rules in mixing and producing and art. This is art, you guys. It's science, but it's fucking art. And if you understand the science, you can make it more artistic. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. The first thing I'm going to do, bada bam, okay? And I'm not going to boost this so much because I know that the next thing I'm going to do is going to bring this up. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that 300. Just gives a really nice warmth, pushes the vocal up front a little bit more. It's really, really beautiful. Okay, cool. So we're starting to get somewhere with just like a little tiny bit of EQ. Next thing I want to do is I want to pop on a multiband compressor slash limiter slash whatever the hell you want to call it. But it's going to be an L, like a multi kind of vibe. And these, goddamn, like Waves has made some classic plugins over the years. And one of them is going to be like this multiband, right? It's just insanely good. Anytime you want to like a beautiful sounding multiband compressor processor, like this is the one right here. It's really, really, really good. And you can just turn it on and then you can just find what frequencies you want to kind of like choke out a little bit more, mess with the threshold. I'll show you, dude. It's just fucking sick. Like, get the fuck out of here, right? Like, night and day. And all it's really doing is just like compressing and taking down what, like this band right here from like, what is this, like 280 to like whenever it hits too much, right, crosses the threshold, it just kind of pulls that down a little bit, which is beautiful because what that ends up doing is giving it more top spitty kind of stuff that sounds really musical and beautiful. And if you really want to hear that accentuated, just pull the threshold down and take the out ceiling and pull that down and you'll hear exactly what it's doing. It's just making that vocal just really pop out. Awesome. I love it. So I take, usually when I'm like working on that kind of stuff, obviously it's adding gain. That's okay. Like I could take it back down. You know, I can bring the ceiling down on it, whatever. Like you can literally just bring this fader down on the Vox Mix bus, right? But I typically take the speakers down really low when I'm doing something like that because I really want to hear what it's doing with the vocal and how the vocal is changing in the mix. Like, is it popping out too much on the top of the mix? Is it still in the mix? Like, what's going on here? And is that still sounding good? So that really helps a lot. These vocal doubles, if I want to start to get a little bit more precise about these, I'm going to go in and start to treat them on their own. So like, for example, here's the vocals by themselves with the vocal doubles.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how, a lot of love and I love it right now, a little keep on keeping on, a little partying until dawn, a lot of work, a lot of play, a little breath to keep the stressors at bay. Oh yeah, no one can keep me down. I just dust off my crown, yeah. Oh yeah, quick summer come, baby.
All right, so getting the balance right again, because when you play it in the verse, you have to understand, like, and take a note, you know, like I need to automate the verses down because it sounds really great when you have the maximizer here in the chorus. But when you go to back to the verse, it's like the vocals are way too up front. They're way too on top of the beat. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful with that, and you got to just take a note like, yo, this needs to be automated down on the verses, and then it can come back up on the choruses. But you know, that's part of mixing. Like you find the spot where it's just beautiful, and then you automate down. I'd rather automate down than automate back up. You know what I mean? Because then when you're automating up, you might have your master and everything like set really beautifully, and then you go like, oh, now I got to bring that chorus up, and you bring chorus up and you start clipping out and you start hitting ceilings and shit. So find the loudest part, make that sound really great, and then go back down to the verse and automate the vocal down. You know, ride shit down. It's a very, very good little tip for you guys if you're working on mixing and mastering. Okay, so another thing, just pull these EQs over for the doubles, right? Because what we're going to do is we're going to treat the doubles a little bit differently than the lead, of course, but we're going to get rid of this guy because we don't need that. We don't need this either because we don't even know why we would do that on the doubles yet. We haven't heard them, you know, heard any issues or know what we're looking for here. So I'll just take those EQ moves, get rid of them, right? And we know that we're not going to want any of this garbage down there on the doubles, so we're good there. So let's start with the doubles and start to shape them a little bit. And the way I do this is I really pay attention to what do I want from the doubles, what are the doubles adding or taking away from the lead.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how, a lot of love and I love it right now, a little keep on keeping on, a little partying until dawn.
So they're adding some nice space around the vocals, but I think they're almost like a little too big. You know, like meaning they're too, like there's too much body in them. I feel like we already have that in the lead. So what we can do here is start to compress them a little bit, just so, as you can see on screen, like this part is like a lot harder and bigger than these, right? So you could do this one of two ways. You could do this manually, which is typically what I do. Chop them, right? Grab both of these, go up to region, gain them down a little bit, right? Any parts that are like a little bit too much. And you can gain ride every single region, every clip all the way through. Even on anything that's like plosive like this, you can go and like turn that down, right? Just really smooth the whole thing out without using any compression whatsoever. And you can bring up the parts that maybe need to be gained up a little bit. Like maybe these beginnings need to feel as straight up as the next parts, right? So you get what I'm saying? Like hopefully you guys aren't very responsive today. I don't know, maybe it's because it's Tuesday, but you know, hopefully you guys are following along. All right, so turn that up a little bit, and we're just kind of gain match these a little bit. And I'm using my eyes a little bit here, of course. But that's the first thing. And then I can use a compressor to get tonality out of it. And make sure, like a lot of the times with doubles, I don't want a lot of S's, P's, T's, etc. consonants. I really want those vowels to kind of like help widen the vocal out and stretch it and give it a sense of space, okay? So that's a really, really important part of doubles for me. So the first thing I'm going to do here is, you guessed it, go into my Fab filter and DS the shit out of it. And I mean like really DS the shit out of it. Like to the point where it's like, whoa, dude, don't you think that's a little much? I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, it is. So I'm going to go all the way to like 5K, and we're going to keep the top, the spit, you know, so maybe even up here because it's a female vocal. And then we can do split band or wide band. Doesn't really matter. What really matters is the threshold and range. Okay, so let's hear this and what this is doing to this, just this double. So I have this like pan -40. I'm going to take it right up the middle, and I'm just going to listen to it.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how, a lot of love and I'd love it right now, a little keep on keeping on.
And another big thing that I totally almost missed is that these were tracked through the Slate Digital mic as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get some EQ and some curve out of that. Super, super important. And I can't believe I wasn't thinking about that, but that's where I'm going to start. So Slate Digital, where is it? Slate Digital, Mix Rack. God, I hate the way that their shit is labeled. Virtual Mix Rack, like everything's so... VBC, like what? Just Slate mic, you know, Slate mic shit. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to grab like my classic tubes, and this is going to be a double, so make sure it's not anything like that has a lot of sibilance. Like if I chose a C800, it's going to be super sibilant. Like listen to this.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight, a little twist, a little shift, 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 a little twist, a little shift.
All right, so 251 is sounding nice for me, and there's a lot of like congestion in this vocal as well. But let's throw a custom opto on here. Let's just kind of level out the vocal a little bit.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how, a lot of love and I'd love it right now. A little keep on keeping on, a little partying until dawn.
Okay, so for any opto compressor, usually like an LA2A, 5 to 7 dB of compression is kind of the sweet spot of that compressor for me. I've used many LA2As and many like different plug-in versions of LA2As over the years, and it's just always about the same. Like 5 to 7 dB of gain reduction is where you really get the tone of the compressor. And then this is cool because it has a variable ratio, which is not typical of LA2A.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how.
And you can hear there's like some drive on her microphone, and it's a little chunky. Like it needs a little bit less chunkiness to it. So next thing I'll do is you can use an EQ in here. You can use like a graphic EQ. I think a 550 would be cool. I mean 560 API. I think they have that in here. Let me see. I mean even a Neve would be cool too. But yeah, it doesn't look like it. Graphic. Weird. I thought they had that, but I guess they don't. This will work. So API, and this has a ton of bands, which is great. First thing I'm looking at is probably the 400 area, 400 to 800. So let's check out the 400 area first.
A little twist, a little shift. A little sentimental midnight kiss. A little who, a little how. A lot of love and I'd love it right now. A little keep on keeping on. A little partying until. A little twist, a little shift.
Cool. So I kind of like that 800 area in the double. I think it gives it some nice punch, which I don't like in the lead vocal, but I like it on this because I feel like it'll fill out the sides. Okay, so that's like a pretty decent little vibe. Now let's turn on the Pro Q or the Pro DS and let's start to DS a little bit more.
A little twist, a little shift. A little sentimental midnight kiss. A little who, a little how.
Okay, we're going to DS that a little bit. Let me go in here and switch my vibe because it's starting to do some weird crackle stuff. So what I'm trying to do is just really make this background vocal really, really smooth. I really don't like the fact that she's hitting the twist really hard. A little twist, a little shift. Like that is going to kill a double. Like usually when I double my vocals, I'll try really hard as a vocal producer. When I got the singer in the booth, like, yo, soften those, like really soften those. Like focus on twist a little shift. You know, like really focus on those vowels and less on the syllables. You know, and that's hard for a lot of vocalists to do because recording is an art form. That's why we have recording artists, right? We have performers, we have recording artists. It's not the same thing. Recording arts really take practice in recording and understanding what, you know, you need to bring out of something and how to hit a microphone and all that. And it's different for everybody. Excuse me. So now I have these all going to the same spot, right? The vocal mix bus. What I do want on this double is I want a little space around it as well. So I might throw like a slap delay or a room or something on this vocal to just give it a little bit more space. I don't want anything that's going to be drowned in reverb, okay? So that's very, very important to understand. So I'm going to go for like a Valhalla room, okay? Great start. I'm going to mix this in. I'm going to go pre-delay, probably like so I can tuck the vocal back a little bit of like 30 to 50 milliseconds, okay? We'll start with like 32.7. Yeah, sure. And then I'm going to take the decay down like 1 second. High cut, yeah, we don't want to like have that sibilance firing off. And these are really cool ideas like bass molt. You can like molt it, like multiply the bass frequency in the reverb by 2 times, or you can take it down. This vocal has a lot of low end in it, so I'm going to actually take down the bass molt. So I'm going to take it down so the bass isn't like firing off in the reverb as much. Okay. And then the bass crossover is fine. I think 100 Hertz, maybe even going down to like that 800-900 area. And that should be cool. Let's hear it.
A little twist, a little shift. A little sentimental midnight kiss. A little who, a little how. A lot of love and I'd love it right now. A little keep on keeping on. A little twist, a little shift. A little sentimental midnight.
Love that. It kind of reminds me of like, you know, a classic chamber, you know, from Capitol Records or something. So what you can also do is like try out a chamber, like a large chamber, dark chamber, you know, something like that. Keep it on the settings, try the chamber.
A little twist, a little shift. A little sentimental midnight kiss. A little who, a little how. A lot of love and I'd love it right now. A little keep on keeping on. A little partying until dawn. A lot of work, a lot of play. A little breath to keep the stressors at bay.
Now, I don't typically like solo these out. I'm just showing this to you guys so you can really hear what I'm hearing. So this is going to kind of like tuck these into the mix more. It's also going to give more space to the vocal, okay? Now that I have this all set up with this vocal, what do? Easy. I just fucking move it over, right? Like literally option drag it over, make a channel strip preset for it, like very simple. Just move everything over to the other one, okay? So now you have left and right, all doing the same thing, okay? They have their own sound, they have their own microphones, etc. So on the double here, same exact chain as this. Now let's pan them back out, 40-40, right? And here's where I'm gonna start with my doubles. And let's pop the lead in with the double and just hear it together. And then we're gonna blend the doubles into the vocal just to see how much of it we want.
A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how. A lot of love and I love it right now. A little keep on keeping on, a little partying until dawn. A lot of work, a lot of play, a little breath to keep the stressors at bay. A little twist, a little shift, a little sentimental midnight kiss, a little who, a little how. A lot of love and I love it right now. A little keep on keeping on, a little partying until dawn. A lot of work, a lot of play, a little breath to keep the stressors at bay.
So see what we did there? We just like use the doubles to create more space around the lead vocal. Thicken it out, make it more exciting, make it more appealing, make it sound more like a record. But without the doubles, we kind of feel like, wow, the lead vocal got like thinner and it doesn't sound as important, right? But with the vocals in, the doubles, you don't really hear them. You feel that sense of space. You feel that sense of like, wow, the vocal is important. All right. So that's what I do with vocal doubles. And that's just kind of like the starting point of where I'd go with these. Of course, like I'm going to go back and forth. This is a modular process. Let's hear that idea and the doubles in the chorus here. All right, so there's no tuning on the doubles. There's no tuning on any of the backgrounds, none of the stacks. There's no vocal lining on any of the doubles, any of the stacks, none of that stuff. I showed you at the beginning of the video and this live how I did that. But you guys have to realize like this is all very, very, very subtle and it's a lot of moves subtly done, right? Stack, 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 stack. Little tiny, 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 tiny little manipulations. And that's going to lead to this record really sounding really big, really full, really punchy, modern, but with a throwback vintage vibe. And that's just kind of how I start these vocal stacks and doubles. And now that I have that, for example, I now have a cool little chain that I can start with. I can go to settings here and I can just say, hey, let's save this channel strip setting, right? Let's save it as, and let's call it, you know, background. Let's say like female soul vocals. I always started with Vox. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, Vox dash female soul backgrounds. Right? And we just call it 1 so that we can have more. Okay, and then I'll go to track and then I'll make sure I put it in the vocals folder here. Okay, save. Now what I have is I can literally go into all of these harmonies and stuff, and I can start with that preset. It's going to route everything. It's going to throw all the same settings and everything on it. So I can go in here and I can pick my vocals and go to my Vox female soul background 1, right? Bada bam. And there you go. So I can do that with everything as a starting point, and then I can kind of mess with it depending on what that source material is. So, for example, like this is a small voice, right? Let's solo these out so you can hear this.
Oh yeah, no one can keep me down. I just dust off my crown, yeah.
So see how that doesn't really work, the reverb? Because the reverb sounds now with this high vocal, it sounds almost like metallic. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna open up this one as well. I'm gonna go vocals, and we're gonna pop this guy, and just listen to the metallic splash of the room, of the chamber. It doesn't sound good in this high vocal. So we have to like change things.
Oh yeah, no one can keep me down. I just dust off my crown, yeah.
It's like she's singing in a bathroom now, which doesn't, it's just not, that's not pretty, right? So now what I need to do is I need to go in and make sure that I kind of like change things to make more sense of what this vocal is doing. And that could straight up just be the reverb, right? We can like literally go, hey, that verb is just not, that's not it, right? Let's try like a vintage verb or a plate, you know? I think there's a plate, a Valhalla plate is really good for this. So we'll go here, or even like the Sound Toys. Sound Toys has a really cool plate. Little plate. And we'll try something different on the high vocals. See what we can get out of it. You know, different timbre. Hell yeah! Like she's way up there. We got to find something that's going to be pretty for that area. And it wasn't the other reverb, so let's try the little plate out. And of course, you could just do this as a send as well for your vocals that you like in these reverbs, right? Like, I'm not saying you have to put these as inserts. Let's listen to this and tweak it.
Say, oh yeah, no one can keep me down. I just dust off my crown, yeah. Oh yeah, quick someone call me in and ask me how I've been. I'll say I'm good. Oh yeah, no one can keep me down. I just dust off my crown, yeah. Oh yeah, quick someone call me in and ask me how I've been. I'll say, oh yeah, no one can keep me down. I just dust off my crown, yeah. Oh yeah, quick someone call me in and ask me how I've been. I'll say, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Oh yeah, no one can keep me down. I just dust off my crown, yeah. Oh yeah. Quick someone call me in and ask me how I've been. I'll say I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
So see what we did there? Like that was very, I mean, I was doing that quick because I'm just going off of instinct, but like turn it to the airy setting. We took the 800 back 4 dB, right? We were boosting at 2 dB on the other one. We went click, click. We took that back down 4 dB on those high vocals because they're just getting a little chunky there. We want that to be more of an airy vibe, so we use a plate reverb instead. We turn up the decay a little bit. We just blend it in nicely. It sounds really, really beautiful, right? So that's kind of the name of the game. It's like you got to tweak things to fit specifically what that thing is. So now with these vocal doubles and the small vocal voice that we have, they all sound like this together.
Oh yeah, no one can creep me down. I just dust off my crown, yeah. Oh yeah, quick someone count me in and ask me how I've been. I'll say I'm good.
See, we haven't touched any of the harmonies at all, right? We're just hitting like the head voice kind of vibe. We're hitting the lead vocal and the doubles, right? We haven't touched anything else. So that's kind of like where I start, and everything's glued together by that bus, right? Because they're all going through this vocal mix bus. They're all getting a little bit of, touch on this vibe. And that's why when I boost up the 800, I'm not too worried, because I'm really not boosting the 800 by 4 dB. I'm boosting it by 4 dB minus 1.14 or something. And then I can just kind of like, glue them all together. And then the L3, this is awesome. I love this. This is just like kind of bringing it all to the top and making it pop. And yeah, that's kind of the beginning, guys. And I just wanted to share that with you on the live because I'm doing this anyway today. And I figured, you guys might want to get a little bit of that in. Does anyone have any questions? Doesn't look like it. You guys are just kind of chilling, watching, huh? If you guys do me a favor, share the show, drop a comment, a like, whatever like you can do. Just subscribe to the channel, like show love. I'll just keep trying to do these lives and give you guys some game every time. If you just joined into the live an hour and 16 minutes in, then go back and watch some stuff, like learn about what I'm doing here. Because it may sound simple, but I want you to like really listen and understand like why I'm doing the things I'm doing. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments as well. I'm happy to answer them tomorrow, later today, whenever I get a second. All right. All right, you guys, have fun. Go make some records.